This story is titled, I Booked Premium Cruise for My Children. Stepmother gave their spots to nieces and nephews, claiming they were more deserving. My sweet revenge shocked entire family. Hey Reddit, I'm 33 years old and all my life I've believed that family meant support. I held on to this belief even when they took advantage of me, even when I had to swallow every insult thrown my way. I genuinely thought it was worth it because I was part of something bigger, a family unit that would always be there for each other. But I've come to realize that sometimes family is just a label given to people who know you won't say no. I was wiping my hands on a kitchen towel when I glanced at the clock. 7:15 p.m. Any moment now, my father and stepmother would arrive, uninvited, as always. From the other room, I could hear my kids laughing and arguing, creating their own little world of chaos. They're loud, unfiltered, and so wonderfully alive. And that's exactly why my stepmother despises them. They're out of control. You've spoiled them rotten. Her voice still echoed in my mind from our last argument just days ago. Do you even discipline them? Or do you just let them run wild? I had clenched my jaw but said nothing in response. There was no point. She had already decided her truth about my parenting and my children. Mom, are we really going on the cruise? Lisa asked, bouncing on her heels with excitement. Grandma said it's going to be amazing. I smiled and tucked a stray curl behind her ear. Of course, sweetheart. You and Tommy are going to have the best time with Grandpa and Grandma. Just a few more days and you'll be on that big ship eating chocolate cake every day. This cruise was supposed to be something special. A vacation just for the kids and their grandparents. I had envisioned something carefree and exciting that would give my children new experiences while I got a much-needed break at home. I had planned every single detail and paid for everything, making sure my parents had the best accommodations possible. They didn't have to lift a finger. All they had to do was enjoy time with my kids. The front door opened without a knock. Hello, darling. My stepmother's voice rang through the house, saccharine and insincere as always. My father followed her in, silent as usual. He never interferes, never stops her behavior toward me or my children. I turned and forced a polite smile. Not today, I told myself. Don't start anything today. Good timing, I said. I was just about to finalize the cruise details. She smiled, a slow, calculated smile that made my stomach twist with apprehension. Oh, about that, she started, taking off her coat and casually draping it over a chair. We had to make a little change. I froze, my fingers tightening around the counter edge. What change? She sat down and crossed her legs elegantly, as if she were about to discuss something trivial like dinner plans, not something I'd spent months planning and investing in financially and emotionally. We decided that your sister's kids would benefit from this trip more, she announced. There was a moment of stunned silence as I stared at her, the words not fully registering at first. Excuse me? I finally managed to say. She sighed like I was being the unreasonable one in this conversation. Well, after our little disagreement the other day, I realized that your kids really don't deserve this trip. They're too undisciplined, too much work. And honestly, I thought it would be a good lesson for you. You need to learn how to raise them properly. A flashback hit me like a slap to the face. 3 nights ago, we were having dinner at my father's house. Tommy, Lisa, sit down properly. My stepmother's voice had rung through the dining room as she scowled at my son. He had simply reached for the breadbasket. They're just excited, I had said lightly, trying desperately to keep the peace as always. Excited? They're uncontrollable. Look at them, she had snapped, her perfectly manicured fingers tightening around her wine glass. You've raised them like wild animals. No respect, no discipline. Excuse me? My voice had dropped, my patience wearing dangerously thin. You heard me. She had set her glass down sharply on the table. You let them do whatever they want. They need structure, rules. Your sister's kids now, they are well-behaved, polite. They know how to listen. Maybe because they're terrified of their mother, I had muttered under my breath. Her eyes had flashed with anger. I don't expect you to understand, but I won't sit here and pretend your parenting isn't a disaster. I had forced myself to take a deep breath and keep my temper in check. Meanwhile, my father had remained silent, staring at his plate. He never takes sides, not mine at least. And now here we were. She had been waiting for this moment, the perfect way to teach me a lesson about my parenting. I felt a sharp, cold rage spread through my chest as the realization fully dawned on me. You replaced my children, My voice was eerily calm despite the fury building inside me. She waved a hand dismissively. Oh, don't be dramatic. They'll get another chance. But your sister's kids, they've had a rough year. And well, they're easier to handle. It's for the best. My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat but said nothing. He never does. Something inside me snapped in that moment, but I didn't scream or argue. Instead, I reached for my phone with surprisingly steady fingers. Oh, I said, keeping my voice deliberately light. That won't be a problem at all. With a few swipes, I canceled everything. Every ticket, every suite, every excursion. Gone. Her smile faltered as she watched me. What are you doing? I slipped my phone back into my pocket and met her gaze. Problem solved. A tense silence stretched across the room like a drawn bowstring, tight and waiting to snap. My stepmother stared at me, blinking rapidly as she tried to process what had just happened. My father shifted in his seat, his discomfort finally manifesting in a clearing of his throat. You canceled the trip? She asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. That's right. But that's ridiculous. She gave a forced laugh, as if I had just made a tasteless joke. The cruise is tomorrow. Do you know how much trouble it was to get everything arranged? What will we tell your sister's kids? I folded my arms across my chest. Tell them exactly what you told me, that plans changed. Her mouth opened, then closed again. My father sighed heavily. Come on, honey, be reasonable. The trip is already paid for. No, Dad. My voice was ice cold. I paid for it. And if my kids aren't going, then no one is. The first flicker of realization crossed his face. You mean you canceled everything? The rooms? The tickets? Every last detail, I confirmed. The color drained from my stepmother's face. You're being childish, she said, trying to regain control of the situation. Am I? I cocked my head to the side. Because I seem to remember someone else changing plans without asking. You decided my kids didn't deserve to go. Now no one is going. My stepmother shot up from her chair, her expression darkening with barely restrained rage. You had no right. No, I cut in sharply. You had no right to make that decision, to treat my children like they are less than your precious golden grandchildren. You thought you could teach me a lesson. Well, here's one for you. You don't get to make choices about my generosity. Her breathing became heavy, her nostrils flaring with anger. She turned to my father, waiting for him to jump in and take her side like he always does. But for the first time in years, he hesitated. His brows furrowed as he looked at me, something dawning on him, something he should have realized a long time ago. You canceled everything? He repeated, this time softer. I nodded in confirmation. And you're really okay with losing all that money? He asked, disbelief evident in his voice. I let out a short laugh. Oh, don't worry. I'm getting a refund. My stepmother's eyes widened. What? I reached for my phone again and turned the screen toward them, showing the email confirmation from the cruise line that clearly stated full refund. The travel insurance I had purchased covered cancellations for any reason, and since I had booked through my corporate account, I was able to pull some strings. Every cent was coming back to me. For a moment, the room was dead quiet. Then my stepmother's face twisted with fury. Me? I echoed, shoving my phone back in my pocket. I just undid all your work in 2 minutes. Hope it was worth it. You are so ungrateful, my stepmother hissed, snapping me back to the present moment. I exhaled slowly, controlling my rising temper. Grateful for what? For being told my children weren't good enough? For being treated like a second-class citizen in my own family? She marched toward me, jabbing a manicured finger into my chest. I have done nothing but try to help you. I let out a cold laugh. Help me? I took a step closer to her, lowering my voice. Let's go over what help looks like to you. I began counting on my fingers. You took money from me for family emergencies, while my kids went without things they needed. 1 finger. You've called me selfish every time I dare to do something for myself. 2 fingers. You've never once stood up for my children when they were being compared to your better-behaved grandkids. 3 fingers. Her lips pressed into a thin line as I continued. And now you went behind my back and removed my kids from a trip that I planned, paid for, and organized without even telling me. 4 fingers. I dropped my hand and took a step back. That's not help. That's control. And you don't have that over me anymore. My father stood abruptly. Honey, let's just calm down. No, I said sharply. I'm done being calm. I am done playing nice. I grabbed my purse and turned toward the door. Where are you going? My father asked, alarm in his voice. Home, I said firmly, because unlike some people, I actually want to spend time with my kids. I walked out and slammed the door behind me. For the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel guilty for leaving them behind. The moment I stepped out of my father's house, my phone exploded with messages. I expected it. My stepmother isn't the type to take humiliation quietly. I unlocked my phone as I walked to my car, scrolling through the notifications. Missed calls. 3 dad. Missed calls. 5 stepmother, new message. Stepmother, you are being ridiculous. Call me back now so we can fix this mess. New message. Stepmother, you will apologize for your behavior. I don't care how angry you are. You will not ruin this trip for your father. New message, Dad. Sweetheart, can we talk? I snorted. Now he wants to talk. I reached my car, slid into the driver's seat, and locked the doors. My hands were still shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer adrenaline of standing up to them. I placed my hands on the steering wheel, took a deep breath, and just as I was about to put my phone down, another notification popped up. Incoming call. My sister. Oh, here we go. I exhaled sharply and hit decline. 15 minutes later, my sister showed up at my house. I had barely stepped inside when I heard the knock. Not a polite knock, but a furious, impatient fist against wood kind of knock. I closed my eyes, already regretting that I would have to answer the door. But if I didn't, she'd probably just keep banging until my neighbors called the cops. With a deep sigh, I swung the door open, and there she was. Natalie, my perfect, flawless, always right older sister. Her blonde hair was pulled into a sleek bun, her makeup flawless despite the late hour. She was wearing one of her designer coats, the kind that screamed money and status. Are you serious? She snapped before I could even say hello. Nice to see you too, Natalie, I said dryly, crossing my arms defensively. She shoved past me, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood as she stormed into my living room. Why the hell would you do that? She demanded, turning to face me with fury in her eyes. Do what? I played dumb partly because I wanted to make her say it out loud. Her eyes flashed with anger. Cancel the trip. I leaned against the doorframe, trying to appear casual despite my racing heart. Oh, you mean the trip that I paid for? That one? Oh, don't start with that, she groaned, exasperated. Mom said you overreacted. You know how she is. She didn't mean anything by it. I laughed, genuinely laughed, which only made Natalie's lips press into a thin line of disapproval. What's so funny? She demanded. You standing there acting like this is just some tiny misunderstanding, like I should just accept it and move on. Because you should, she huffed indignantly. It's just a vacation, for God's sake. You made it a bigger deal than it needed to be. Right, just a vacation, just my kids, I replied, my voice hardening. Just another way for her to remind me that we'll never be good enough. Natalie rolled her eyes dramatically. Here we go, the victim speech. And there it was. The condescension, the dismissal, the same thing she'd done our entire lives. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, she would shut me down, make me feel like I was overreacting or being too sensitive. You always do this, she continued, throwing her hands in the air with theatrical frustration. You make yourself the victim in every situation, like the whole world is against you. I felt years of resentment bubbling up inside me, threatening to erupt. I didn't make myself the victim, Natalie. Mom did that for me when she decided my kids weren't worthy of a trip that I paid for. She never said they weren't worthy, Natalie protested loudly. She called them undisciplined, out of control, too much work, I countered, my voice steady despite my rising anger. Natalie hesitated just for a second, a flicker of doubt crossing her face. She didn't mean it that way, she finally muttered, though her voice lacked conviction. Of course she did, I said flatly, and you know it. She exhaled sharply through her nose, clearly trying to keep herself calm. Look, just fix it. Rebook the trip. Let the kids go. Don't let this turn into some big family war. Too late, I said simply. Natalie's jaw clenched tightly. You know what? Forget it, she snapped, turning toward the door. I should have known you wouldn't be reasonable. You never are. I let her reach for the doorknob before I spoke again. By the way, Nat. She turned, glaring at me. What? I smiled coldly. Since you're here, you can let Mom know she'll be getting the bill for the non-refundable deposits. For the first time, real panic crossed her face. Wait, what? What deposits? Oh, you didn't think everything was refundable, did you? I tilted my head, savoring this moment of superiority. The excursions, the VIP dinner, the upgraded suites, those were special requests I added just for them. And they're non-refundable. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she found her voice. How much? She asked, suddenly cautious. I grinned, enjoying every second of her discomfort. 14,000. Natalie visibly paled. You're lying. You really want to test that theory? I pulled up the confirmation emails on my phone and showed her the balance. Her hand flew to her mouth in shock. Oh my God, Mom is going to lose it, she whispered. Oh, I know, I said, making no attempt to hide my satisfaction. Natalie turned toward the door, fumbling for her phone. Wait until she hears about this, she muttered, already typing frantically. Oh, tell her one more thing, I added sweetly. Natalie sighed heavily. What now? I smiled, my voice dripping with false sweetness. Next time she wants a free vacation, she can book it herself. And with that, I shut the door in her face, feeling a surge of vindication wash over me. That night, as I tucked my kids into bed, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't regret. It wasn't guilt. It was relief. For the first time, I had set a boundary, a real, unshakable, expensive boundary, and something told me this was just the beginning of my transformation. I woke up the next morning to 23 missed calls, 15 from my stepmother, 5 from my father, and 3 from my sister. I let out a slow breath, already knowing exactly what kind of storm was waiting for me when I checked my messages. Sure enough, the moment I unlocked my phone, the messages flooded in. Stepmother, I hope you're happy. Your father is heartbroken. I don't know how you can live with yourself after what you did. Stepmother, your sister's kids were excited. Imagine how they feel now. You don't just hurt me, you hurt innocent children. Do you even care? Stepmother, I hope you're ready to explain this to Dad when he calls. I told him everything. Natalie, Mom is livid. She's talking about taking legal action. Are you out of your mind? Natalie, just fix it. It's not too late. Dad, sweetheart, please call me. We need to talk. I rubbed my temple, already exhausted by their manipulation tactics, and it wasn't even 7 a.m. yet. Just as I was about to put the phone down, another notification popped up. Incoming call from Dad. I hesitated for a moment, then sighed and decided to answer. Hi, Dad. Sweetheart. His voice sounded tired, like he'd aged overnight. Can we talk? We're talking, I replied flatly. There was a pause on the line. Look, I know you're upset, but was canceling the entire trip really necessary? I closed my eyes briefly and pinched the bridge of my nose in frustration. Dad, she removed my kids from a trip I paid for without telling me. What exactly did you think was going to happen? He sighed heavily. I just think maybe you overreacted. Overreacted? I repeated slowly, my tone dangerously calm. Dad, if someone had done that to Natalie's kids, would you be saying that? Another long pause followed. That's not the point, he finally said, avoiding the question entirely. It's exactly the point, my voice sharpened with anger. You've spent years letting her walk all over me. You always say you don't want to get involved, but what that really means is you don't want to stand up to her. It's not that simple, he muttered defensively. It is. You just don't want to deal with the fallout. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time, I heard him exhale shakily, like the weight of this conversation was finally settling on his shoulders. Your stepmother, she just wanted to do what was best for the family, he offered weakly. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, Dad. She wanted to do what was best for her version of the family, one where I'm just the person who pays for things but never gets a say. He didn't respond to that, which spoke volumes. So let me make this easy for you, I said, my voice turning ice cold. I'm done. I'm done paying for things. I'm done being the family's problem solver. If she wants a vacation, she can book one. If Natalie's kids need a trip, she can pay for it. Sweetheart, he tried to interject. No, I cut him off, feeling a sharp sense of finality settle in my chest. This was my last act of generosity, and you let her throw it away. Another long silence stretched between us, and then quietly, For the first time in years, my father said something that actually sounded genuine. I don't know how to fix this. I closed my eyes, feeling a mixture of sadness and resolve. You don't, I said softly, because you're 20 years too late. And then I hung up. The next few hours were blissfully quiet. No calls, no messages. I had a late breakfast with my kids, took them to the park, and tried to ignore the outside world and the family drama that was surely brewing. But by mid-afternoon, I knew it was only a matter of time before she showed up in person. Sure enough, at exactly 3:14 p.m., my doorbell rang. I didn't move at first, hoping she might give up and leave. Then it rang again, longer this time, followed by loud, impatient knocking. I sighed, finally getting up from the couch. Might as well get this confrontation over with. I opened the door, and there she was, my stepmother. Her perfectly blow-dried hair was a little less perfect today, her designer blouse slightly wrinkled. But her eyes, oh, they were filled with pure fury. "We need to talk," she stated firmly, her tone leaving no room for argument. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed defensively. "I really don't think we do." She pushed past me, inviting herself in like she always did. I let her because honestly, this was about to be entertaining. I was done backing down. She spun to face me, her hands planted firmly on her hips. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I smirked, enjoying my newfound confidence. "Be more specific." "You ruined this trip," she said, her voice rising with each word. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Oh, I have a pretty good idea," I replied, maintaining my composure despite her escalating anger. "Your sister is panicking. The kids are devastated. Your father is heartbroken," she listed off, her voice trembling with rage. "And you're just sitting here acting like a spoiled brat." I tilted my head, pretending to consider her words. "Huh, that sounds a lot like your problem, not mine." Her face twisted in fury. "You're unbelievable. I always knew you were selfish, but this is a new level." I sighed dramatically, deliberately provoking her. "And yet somehow I'll find a way to live with myself." She stepped closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a threat. "You need to fix this." I smiled slowly, coldly. "No." Her nostrils flared with indignation. "You don't get to say no." "Oh, but I do." I shrugged nonchalantly. "And I just did." She sputtered, her face turning an alarming shade of red. "You can't just—" "I can do whatever I want," I interrupted, taking a slow step forward. I watched with satisfaction as she actually stepped back for the first time ever. A small but significant victory. "And you just learned what happens when you push someone too far." Her breathing was heavy, her hands shaking at her sides. "You think you won?" she hissed through clenched teeth. "This isn't over." I laughed, genuinely amused by her empty threat. "Oh, it is. It was over the moment you decided my kids weren't good enough for you." Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Her silence was as close to defeat as I'd ever seen from her, so I smiled and opened the door, gesturing for her to leave. "Bye, Mom." Her eyes flashed with anger. She hated when I called her that in this tone, dripping with sarcasm, stripping the word of any warmth or respect. She stormed out without another word, and this time I locked the door behind her, symbolically and literally shutting her out of my life. That night, as I tucked my kids into bed, my daughter looked up at me with concern in her eyes. "Mommy?" she asked hesitantly. "Yes, sweetheart," I replied, smoothing her covers. "Did we do something bad?" she whispered, her voice small and uncertain. "Is that why we're not going on the trip?" My chest tightened painfully at her question. I gently brushed her hair back from her forehead. "No, baby," I said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong." She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. Then she nodded and rolled over, hugging her stuffed bear close to her chest. As I stood there watching my children sleep, I felt something shift deep inside me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about protecting them. And if that meant burning every last bridge to keep them safe from this toxic family dynamic, then so be it. The silence after my stepmother left felt different this time. It wasn't heavy with guilt. It wasn't suffocating with regret. It was peaceful. For the first time in my life, I had said no, and I meant it. I sat in my living room, staring at my phone, waiting for the next round of attacks. Something told me I wouldn't have to wait long. Sure enough, not even an hour later, my phone buzzed. Incoming call, Dad. Then almost immediately another notification. Incoming call. Stepmother. Then yet another. Incoming call. Natalie. I rolled my eyes at their coordinated effort. They were desperate now, and desperate people make mistakes. I let all the calls go to voicemail, but Natalie wasn't one to give up easily. Within seconds, my phone vibrated again with text messages. New message, Natalie. Pick up the phone. Mom is losing it. Dad's freaking out. You need to undo this now. New message, Natalie. She's talking about getting lawyers involved. I smirked to myself. Oh, this just keeps getting better. I tapped my fingers against my knee, thinking about my next move. They want to play dirty? Fine. I'll show them how dirty I can get. I opened my email app and scrolled until I found exactly what I was looking for. A contract. A fully executed contract. I clicked on it and let the text sink in, smiling to myself with satisfaction. Oh, they were going to hate this. I had a flashback to 2 months ago. I was sitting at my desk at work when my coworker Victor had glanced at my screen. That's a lot of money, he had said, staring at the cruise booking details displayed on my monitor. I know, I had muttered, still wondering if I was making the right decision. You sure you want to put it all toward the cruise? Victor asked, concern evident in his voice. It's for the kids, I said automatically, but something nagged at me. A doubt I couldn't quite shake. And your stepmother, you trust her with this? Victor raised an eyebrow, somehow sensing my hesitation. I had paused, the truth hitting me hard. No, I didn't trust her. Not even a little bit. Then protect yourself. He had shrugged casually. Get something in writing, a contract, make it official. I had stared at him, the idea slowly taking shape in my mind. A contract? Yeah, a simple one, he explained. Just something that says they agree to certain conditions since you're paying for it all. If they break the agreement, they owe you. A slow grin had spread across my face. Victor, I had said, you're a genius. Now, back in the present day, I clicked forward on the email and sent the contract directly to Natalie. It took exactly 30 seconds for my phone to ring again. Incoming call, Natalie. This time I decided to answer. What the hell is this? She screeched before I could even say hello. I smiled, settling back into my couch comfortably. That, dear sister, is a legally binding agreement. You can't be serious, she said, her voice a mixture of disbelief and growing panic. Oh, I am. You're actually making Mom pay you back? The shock in her voice was almost comical. She agreed to my terms when she let me cover the entire trip, I said simply. She accepted my money, she signed a contract, and now she's in breach of that contract. So yes, she owes me. There was a prolonged silence on the line. Then, in a lower, angrier tone, Natalie whispered, Mom is going to lose her mind. She should have thought of that before screwing me over, I replied, unmoved by the threat. Natalie took a slow, audible breath, clearly trying to keep her voice steady. Okay, let's just be reasonable. Maybe we can work something out. Oh, now you want to negotiate, I asked, amused by her sudden change in tactics. Look, we can figure this out without lawyers, right? She said quickly, desperation creeping into her voice. Maybe Mom can pay you back in installments. Or maybe you can just... No, I interrupted firmly. What do you mean, no? She asked, the pitch of her voice rising. I mean no, Natalie. My voice hardened with resolve. Mom always gets away with this crap. She manipulates, she twists things, she does whatever she wants, and you and Dad let her. Well, I'm not playing anymore. She owes me money, and she's going to pay it. Natalie was silent for a long moment. For the first time in her entire life, she seemed to be at a loss for words. You're serious, she finally muttered, the reality of the situation sinking in. Dead serious. You'd actually sue her over this? There was genuine disbelief in her voice. If she pushes me? Yes, I confirmed without hesitation. Another long silence stretched between us. This is going to destroy the family, Natalie said quietly, finally pulling out the ultimate guilt card. No, Natalie, I said calmly, coldly, feeling finally free from the emotional manipulation. This family was already broken. I'm just done pretending it wasn't. And then I hung up, cutting off whatever protest she was about to make. That night I opened a bottle of wine, curled up on my couch and waited for the fallout, for the inevitable meltdown, for the moment my stepmother would realize she wasn't in control anymore. And sure enough, at exactly 9:02 p.m., my phone exploded with calls. Dad, Natalie, Stepmother. I didn't pick up, because this time I was done engaging with their drama. After canceling the cruise and confronting my stepmother, I found myself faced with a tough decision. Should I pursue justice in court or seek a peaceful resolution to this family conflict? Part of me wanted to take this all the way, to make her pay, literally and figuratively, for years of mistreatment. Another part wondered if there was any path to reconciliation that wouldn't require me to sacrifice my self-respect. Either way, I knew I had made the right choice by standing up for myself and my children. For once in my life, I had refused to be the family doormat, and regardless of what happened next, I wasn't going back to that role ever again.